Well, hello. Today we are taking a look at another SixLeaf here. This is the SL-15. This thing is fairly compact little guy here. As we can see, it's kind of a bolster lock with titanium and micarta scales here. This micarta is fairly interesting, little burlappy and dual tone in color, and for whatever particular reason, the not darker portions, but the lighter portions there actually kind of glow under a black light. I don't know. I was using one to charge up a little glow dot on my Actinon Verba knife, and kind of noticed that out of the corner of it. But yeah, this is a titanium frame lock or subframe lock, bolster lock, whatever you want to call that. Little flipper tab there. We have that standard bead blast that SixLeaf does on almost everything. This is in D2. And it's an interesting knife here. We do have quite a bit of a swell going out at the ends of the handle here. As you can see, this is basically about a 3-finger knife, maybe 3.5 if I really scrunched up there, but basically a 3-finger knife there. All that being said, though, we have a decent grind on it, so I can do a lot of good slicing tasks and things like that. And this thing does have quite good action on it. Yeah, pretty much fall shut kind of stuff going on there. We have kind of a larger little lanyard area there that's kind of pitted out, and of course has that little loop on the top there. And a pocket clip does a pretty decent job. It is basically one screw going into micarta though, so yeah, this thing will end up developing some wiggle, so that's unfortunate. What I will say is this guy, I've seen him basically listed in retail places for like $95 or something like that. And I can easily say it ain't worth that. So definitely don't pay that much for it. I won this from an eBay auction, and I got it for about 55, and yeah, right around 55 to 70 or something like that. That might be a little bit more what I think it's worth. Just comparing it with like other Tucsons and things like that. But the contouring on it's fairly decent. You know, we don't just have any flat slab sort of things going on there, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, oh, let's see. I have some measurements and things like that for it. So, blade stock thickness on this guy, 3.2 millimeters. I still think for this particular size of knife, it's fine, but I could easily see them reducing that. Either 3 millimeters, hell, even like 2.8 or 2.6 would be fine for this particular size, and that would only just make the knife a bit smaller. Or thinner, I should say, not necessarily smaller. But this does kind of reach those magic numbers here. We got a 3.24-inch blade going on here. Fairly thin, so yeah, this knife is fairly compact overall. That's going to be 82.2 millimeters. But it only comes out to 2.85 ounces, or 80.5 grams. So yeah, it's a nice light little guy. If you are looking for kind of a titanium frame lock for them dog days of summer where you are definitely not wearing the thickest material or the most robust of pants holding upping technology like a belt or whatever, then this guy will definitely meet those standards for you. So that's kind of nice. And we have 0.53 of an inch handle thickness here. Of course, it is contoured, so it's not going to be that at either extreme. It's just going to be there in the center, and that's going to be 13.5 millimeters overall. So yeah, not too bad overall. This thing is a little bit of a beast to be able to do some maintenance on, and I'll kind of get into that in just a little bit here. Let's see, the plunge grind on here, it's fairly quick, but it does basically end right before the blade there. So you will probably end up with a smile sooner rather than later, but I have reprofiled this guy, and I don't really see a smile on either side yet, but it will certainly happen. The blade steel's not all that bad on it. I've done a little bit of cut testing on it, not quite to the point where it's dull, but it has definitely held up, so that's good. The fit and finish on it isn't exactly the absolute best. There is a very distinct transition between the titanium and the micarta on both sides here. It's not unpleasant. It doesn't have like a very sharp corner there. They've kind of rounded off the micarta there, but it's just not quite as precise as some other manufacturers. So there you go with that. That being said, though, excuse me. I do like the micarta stuff there. They have a decent finish going on it. It has a nice look to it, nice feel. And yeah, it's not pretending to be something that it's not. It's just some nice, hard-working burlap style micarta. And because of that, yeah, it's fairly attractive. Almost has that two-tone kind of Civivi snakewood micarta kind of vibe to it. So that's kind of neat. I suppose I didn't really need to say that earlier up front, but yes, this is a rattlesnake design. SixLeaf has so far put out 17 or 18 models, and all of them have been rattlesnake. So there you go with that. That's why I didn't really think to mention it earlier. Let's see, we do have a little bit of lock bar access there. No scallops, but that's perfectly fine. Very, very serviceable as far as being able to open and close that, and really wouldn't have any trouble doing that with gloves either. So that's fairly nice. The jimping on there works out pretty well. And the flipper tab doesn't curve back too much, so I don't really feel the knife kind of digging in if I do end up smushing my fingers together to get that little bit more 3.5 to 4 finger grip. But yeah, I mean, for a smaller knife with a titanium frame lock sort of thing going on there, it's pretty decent design. So let me go ahead and kind of go a little bit deeper on this guy, and we'll see what I'm talking about, as long as I don't apparently stab my hand off with my own screwdriver. I suppose it's better with a screwdriver than it is with a knife, huh? Alright, so T6 hardware for holding the scales on, but T8 for the pocket clip and the pivot here. And here we can see we have these two little things that are proud here. And I can show you that we basically have the same thing going on the underside of these micarta scales here. There we go. Yeah, we can see the underside of it. This one actually doesn't look like it was started at the very end there. As another one of these knives with this micarta that I've looked at were super, super glossy with the phenolic resin. But yeah, we can see that there's not a whole lot of titanium going on there. This is a bolster lock or whatever, but you know, it basically functionally is a liner lock there. And that's perfectly fine. What I end up having a problem with is these backspacer things. I can't, for the life of me, get them apart. It feels a bit like they are a little bit like riveted on both sides. I have absolutely no ability to open that up. So when I did disassemble this guy to clean it out and tune it up, and obviously that did help the action immensely. So if you do pick up one of these guys, I would suggest you do that. It's a lot more difficult to put this thing back together because you have to sandwich the bearings and that in there and trying to get the pivot through. You know, a lot like when you're actually trying to put back together an access lock, which isn't ideal when you're trying to deal with a frame lock, but it is what it is. And I suppose if you really want something super nice and slim, you could just take those micarta scales off, and there you go. Of course, the titanium on the inside there is a little sharp because it is designed to use those use these little scales here. It does fit in a little notch inside there, so that's kind of an interesting fit up, at least. But yeah, it's an interesting knife. But, you know, not without its flaws, that's for sure. I would really appreciate the ability to be able to fully disassemble the damn thing. And yeah, at that particular point, with all the screws out and pulled that out, I was kind of shoving a metal spudger up in there and really kind of wrenching on it, and yeah, absolutely no movement at all from those guys. So I suppose, you know, in one way that that does add to the rigidity of you know, the actual frame underneath the scales. But yeah, still not my absolute favorite. That, and because this has a single screw going into the micarta, you're going to run into some pocket movement, as you can see here. And that'll only get worse over time, so that's a little unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, if you can get a hold of one of these guys for a decent price, and you're kind of just in the look for quite a light little frame lock knife for some of those hotter summer days, then I would say go for it. I would just sincerely state that I don't think that this knife is worth anywhere near the $95 that I've seen it go for at retail. So there is definitely that to consider. But alrighty, that's about all I really had to say on that. Oh, I could probably do, since I did tease and bring out a knife earlier. There we go with the Spyderco Pm2. This is probably a little bit more para 3 sized. Let's see, so I don't really think the Endura is really going to be helpful. Here we are with the K-Bar Dozier, which has some interesting different kind of things going on there. There we are with the Kalashnikov 74. Let's go with the Benchmade Bug Out. Very, very similar in size on that one. This one, of course, is thicker, but depending on the material, yeah, this is still a little bit heavier. So I guess, you know, if you are really looking for a backpacking kind of knife, I would still probably go with a Benchmade. But hey, these are much more expensive. And of course, Benchmade 940. So, alrighty, that's basically everything I wanted to cover with this guy. It's neat. His construction is a little bit baffling to me, but man, that action really doesn't lie. It just drops shut. And yeah, it has ceramic bearings and brass cages inside there. I just wanted to save myself a lot of time and effort by doing that. By not actually fully taking the pivot out and everything. But, alrighty, there we go. So, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And subscribe, please.